So we are back with Grimm Season 5. Where we left off, Nick's mom was dead, Meisner had Diana, and Trubel had just killed Juliet, right as Agent Chavez of the FBI shows up at the house. So we open the season with the agents breaking in, and immediately they drug Nick and kidnap Trubel. And when Nick wakes up, he finds his mother's head's gone, the body of Juliet is gone, and Trubel's missing. But while he was asleep, he had this dream of him having a funeral for Juliet, seeing how even though what Juliet did in the last season, he still wants to have a funeral for her. We then have him like calling his friends and be like, Juliet's dead. And that's where the first problem comes in. Okay, so last season, by the end of the season, they did not like Juliet. Juliet had tried to kill Monroe. Juliet was not a good person. I kind of get where they're coming from, but in the same way, like, they acted super surprised that she was dead. And like, what? Juliet's dead? And like, yeah, she was trying to kill you guys. Of course, Juliet would be, like, they were acting like it's the old Juliet. This is a different Juliet who just died here. And sad. And I'm like, do you remember what she was like by the end of the season? That's not like, they should not be surprised that she's dead. I get somewhat being surprised, like, what? I thought she got on the plane, but it's in the way of like, if one of your enemies gets killed type surprise. But sad, I get it later on in the episode having it, so they start waking up and realize, I miss the old Juliet. But it's like, at that moment, they should not feel like, I don't know what the best reaction would be, because I'm trying to think of a situation I could be in to have a reaction like that, but like, it wouldn't be the reaction they gave. I get it, because this was their friend, but in the same way, it's a strange reaction. The next problem is the fact that, okay, so whoever took Trubel, they cleaned it up, so there's no sign they were there. And Nick immediately picks up on, oh, this must be Agent Chavez. And so he starts trying to investigate her. But the problem is, why is it that he calls these people still kind of waking up from the drugs and all, but he's like, he tells them all this stuff. But then at first they believe him, but then the moment he starts like trying to investigate this whole situation, they start thinking he's crazy. And I'm like, after everything has happened in the last 5 seasons, why are you calling him crazy now? This is not the most crazy thing he has done. Like, I would just believe him. But yeah, they went for the whole episode practically just saying, like, he gets laid off from his job. The captain thinks he might need some time because, or he probably does need time, but like, he's not going crazy here. Even Hank and the others are starting to be like, maybe he's going a little loopy. He's not, but it takes them to the end of the episode when he kidnaps Agent Chavez, and then she reveals to everyone else that he's not insane and that, yes, they did steal Trubel, that they actually start believing him. I'm like, you guys are terrible friends, because he's clearly, I know I actually saw it all happen as an outsider, but in the same way, it's like, I would have believed him in that, like, after everything that's happened, I would believe him in that case. But anyways, yeah, so Chavez and him go to meet up with some people. They get ambushed, and Chavez gets killed, but one of the people who were ambushing them gets away, and he runs outside to see the guy get in a truck and leave behind this symbol of 4 claw marks. And he runs back inside, talks to Chavez. Chavez dies. She gets a phone call, so he picks up the phone call, and it is Meisner on the other end. He basically tells Meisner she's dead, and he's like, okay, keep the phone. That's the end of that episode. The next episode, they go back to where Chavez was killed and find all the bodies are missing. It's been cleaned up, so someone's trying to hide the whole thing, and the symbol of the claw marks have been painted over. That's where the first problem comes in. It's very clear it was painted over, and I get it, it's still wet paint, but they didn't take the time to, like, it's a brick wall. They didn't take the time to make sure to paint inside the bricks to make it so the lines are still uncovered, or, you know, recolor those lines of the concrete. But it's like, no, they didn't do that, so it's just this paint splot right there, and you can easily tell if anyone's walking by, like, that doesn't fit. I'm like, sloppy job there. But anyways, so it's another moment of like, people are starting to be like, okay, are you crazy, Nick? Like, what's going on here? It's like, why are they thinking he's crazy? He's been completely normal by, like, this all happened, like, I don't know, but they're starting to believe him now, but it's like, clearly someone is covering up things. But in the meantime, Nick is still laid off, so Hank has to work with a different detective, and it doesn't help because, you know, he's used to working with a Grimm, and this case they're dealing with is a vesting case. So basically what happens is, this man notices that there's funds disappearing from their company. He goes to talk to one of the accountants, only for the accountant to be revealed to be the one stealing, and he kills the guy, and then fakes that they had a break-in. You know, he's a vesting, so Hank really needs Nick. So he's like, having Nick slide in there to help out for a little bit and not telling the other guy what's going on fully. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention in the last episode is that Adeline has gone into labor and they now have the child. So Nick is helping him investigate, but also he just brought Adeline and baby Kelly, that's the name of the baby, home from the hospital now. And there's a really cool moment there where Nick is making sandwiches for Adeline and him, and she mentions to him that she's allergic to tomatoes. I thought that was a really interesting detail because as a kid, I was allergic to tomatoes. And I'm not anymore because I went on a diet that cleaned up my system so I can eat tomatoes again. But I thought that was a really cool fact. I remember like watching this show for the first time and being like, dude, Adeline has the same allergy as me. It's also nice having a show have someone with that allergy because everyone around me outside my family would laugh at me if I told them I was allergic to tomatoes. And I was like, no one believed that that was an allergy that could exist. And so here it is in the show. For those who are wondering, yes, people can be allergic to tomatoes. Anyways, but yeah, so very quickly, Hank picks up on that the accountant is probably behind this. And so he has him brought in and Nix identifies him as a Vesson. And right at that moment, they realize, oh, wait a second, he's also wanted in California for doing the same thing he was doing here of, stealing funds. And right then, some agents from California comes in and takes the man away. They don't know he's a Vesson. So he breaks out of their custody, but kills them both, and leaves behind the same mark we saw at the beginning of the episode of the 4 claw marks. And eventually track him back down to Portland again, and it's revealed that the assistant to the boss, who he killed, was working with him. And she acts like she's completely innocent, and he's like forcing her to do this. After they start chasing him down, actually having to kill him, they come back up and find her deleting all the files on the computers. And then she says, basically mean free the hidden. And then she jumps out of the window and kills herself. We're going to be figuring out more what that means later. Now on to the third episode. The third episode is dealing with lost kids who kidnapped women to be their mother. And so we begin with this one woman escaping from them, tripping and falling, dying because of that. And so they are now in search of a new mother. Meanwhile, Nick is also, after all the troubles happened at his house, he decides that he needs to move to protect Adeline and the child. So he moves to a new house that's hidden, looking like it's just in a storage building. And that's where he's going to be for the rest of the series. We're really never going to see that house again. Sad, the Grimm house is gone. Yeah, so they move to this new place, and those kids show up at the spice shop because they need some medicine for this little girl's cough. After figuring out that these kids don't have money, and they are homeless, and they need medicine, Rosalie, being Rosalie, just says you can have the medicine and leave. But they take this as, oh, this woman cares about us. And so they come back and they kidnap her. These kids are Vesson who don't know anything about the Vesson world. She gives them the story about a Grimm and how the Grimm is going to hunt them down. Thus, when Nick shows up and they vogue in front of him and realize he's a Grimm, these like little kids, so they can't really fight too well, so they're easily just taken in and they're put into foster care again. And we leave the episode with the 3 boys of the group getting called to an office with this man in the shadows who's a Vesson too, and he says, repeat after me, Okantanum Libera, or free the hidden. You have that again. And they're like, what does that mean? It's like, that means you have a new family. And then the very last moment of the episode, we go and see what Meisner is up to, and we see that he has trouble. And that's where we leave the episode. So overall, these episodes are pretty good. Again, as I've talked about before, season 5 is my favorite season probably. Now that I think about it and I'm coming to season 5, there are some stuff I don't like as much about season 5, but this season has a lot of great moments. Every character is at their highest point. Like, you have the most powerful version of certain characters that I'm not going to get into because I will almost about to spoil what happens in the next video. For right now, what I'll say is that there are characters who are very powerful in this show, and they're at the highest power in this. The whole team is together. It's a pretty fun season, so I'm looking forward to reviewing season 5 with you guys, and we'll see if it's actually still my favorite after I'm done with the season. Also, let me know. I just switched mics, so let me know if you notice a difference. Till next time, this has been the Movie Night Review. Peter Wary, signing off.